What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, guys, today's topic, we're going to talk about Minnesota wide receiver Rashod Bateman. I'm intrigued by this prospect breakdown, guys. I'm kind of excited to bring this one to you. So let's start off with some of the advanced analytics on this young man. He has a lot of the underwriting advanced analytics you want to see from a football player. Breakout age. Remember, the way they judge breakout age is when did you achieve what they call the 20% college domination rating, meaning you're accounting for at least 20% of your team's yardage and touchdowns throughout the season. For this young man, it happened at 18.8 years old. Anything under 19 years old is considered to be, hey, pay attention to this guy. Level stuff, right? This is some of the advanced analytics stuff behind some of these players, guys. Some of you guys have been asking me to incorporate some of this stuff into the video. That's why I'm doing it. His college dominator rating, though, for the 2020 season is a little bit more complex. 43.7. Mind you, anything above a 45 is considered really good. So he's on the threshold of that really good rating number, but he didn't quite get there. And that's the complexity between the film of 2019 and the film on 2020, because the film in 2019 shows a very good football player.
His career bests on the RPO, going deep to one of his big receivers. Bateman juggled and caught.
The film in 2020 shows a very good football player with a lot of growth still left.
Play action over the middle, first down, dropped by Bateman.
Interesting thing here going on with this young man. What I will tell you even furthermore into some of the research here, guys, is that some of the things that make this young man shine, you can see it play out in advanced analytics, right? Grade versus man coverage, 87.4.
On that play. Now floated up to Bateman.
Very high, guys. He's one of only 13 players from this draft class to have above 80 grading against man coverage, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's top 5 in that regard, to be quite honest.
Play action, and there is the patented slant.
That's where you can start to see his strengths. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first started watching this young man, I thought he was a little bit more like Terrace Marshall Jr. And then I was wrong. I found out quickly I was wrong. There's some versatility to his game that could remind an individual of Terrace Marshall Jr., right? The ability to play a split end boundary side receiver role, a tall slot, and also a movement Z or a flanker. Yes, you can say just like Terrace Marshall Jr. has that ability to play all three alignments for a wide receiver, so does Rashod Bateman. In that aspect, they are very similar. But their games are a lot different, and their athleticism is different. So to start with, 4.45 guy-ish is where he comes in. I think they clocked him somewhere in the 4.3s in his pro day, guys, but take all that stuff with a grain of salt. Some of the other guys I've seen reporting on this say that he's a little closer to a 4.45. And that's about what his college film shows. But what I will say is, out of all the receivers that I've had an opportunity to break down, I think the guys he reminds me of, and just give me a second and hang with me, are a very elite group of route runners. Justin Jefferson. That's when I'm watching film, like, who does this guy remind me of? I just couldn't put my finger on it for a while. And then it flashed into my head, Justin Jefferson. I went back and watched twice just because it's a very high praise as a route runner. And I'm going to show you why I'm saying that in a second, guys. So just stick with me. Keenan Allen, okay, Devontae Adams, and Michael Thomas. Those 5 guys remind me a little bit of Rashod Bateman. Not necessarily that they're all exactly the same type of players. We got variances of speed here, but all 5 of those guys are very good route runners. And when I broke down Rashod Bateman's film, the first thing I saw was that just like Keenan Allen, just like Devontae Adams, just like Michael Thomas, and just like a guy like Justin Jefferson, Rashod Bateman has the ability to work and set up defensive backs.
Morgan faked it to him, has a man open. Morgan faked it to him, has a man open.
It's his strength, guys. It's part of the reason he has that 87.4 man coverage grade. It's part of the reason he had a breakout NFL, breakout age rating of 18.8. And it's part of the reason why he's got a college denominator in 2020, which was probably his worst season of football, of still being a 43.7, right on the fringe of the excellent level.
Yeah, he just has a knack for finding soft spots in zone coverage. It's either drop.
He's a very, very good route runner, guys. His first step or two off the line of scrimmage, it's some of the best I've watched, guys. He's just a really nuanced guy at the release. He beat a lot of press coverage. He even ate up a lot of off coverage too. He's very good in that regard, guys.
Take another look. They've got Bateman in on the slot. He does a good job getting the outside of Belton. Unfortunately, the ball is just...
I will also say that at the top of his route stem, it's the fluidity of his hips. You look at a guy like Justin Jefferson in the head fake. If you guys go back and watch my draft profile videos of Justin Jefferson last year, I titled one like "Don't Trust His Eyes," because Justin Jefferson's head fake was like next level to me. When I look at a guy like Rashod Bateman, I see a guy with really fluid hips.
Nick Neiman, and you're going to take this opportunity every time. They call that little jerk route.
The way that he can break on the ball on those out routes and those dig routes and things like that, guys, he's next level. He's really freaking good at it, guys. He has really good hips. And he keeps his body under composure, right? Under control as he's coming in and out of his breaks. He's very good at coming in and out of the breaks, guys. He's next level with those gentlemen I've named before. But this is where it all kind of comes apart. I do think he's a pretty good yak guy, but I think there's some nuance there. I don't know that he's the greatest athlete. So a few times I watched him on things like jet motions and things where it went nowhere.
Tonight. Sophomore from Oklahoma, penetration. Bateman, they tried to hand the...
But then you can see in other moments where you hit him with a quick pass, and you're like, holy crap, like this is what this guy's good at. Like, he can be very good at breaking tackles. As a matter of fact, he's broken 36 tackles and just over like 100 and some receptions.
Party from high school in Kentucky. Screen pass. Far side. Bateman sneaks through. Rashod Bateman inside.
He's very good at that. He can break tackles, guys. He's definitely a yak guy, a guy that can get yards after contact. But there's also some subtlety to his game and some things that make me I become cautious about projecting him. Let me talk for a second to you about where I think the separation comes from a guy of Justin Jefferson's abilities and a guy like Rashod Bateman, who is fun to watch. I think has tremendous upside, but I don't think he's quite to Justin Jefferson yet. Justin Jefferson had crazy measurables. When you looked at his arm length, like his reach, 33-inch arms, right? 78-inch wingspan for a guy his size. Very Devontae Smith, but better put together in the body frame, right? Devontae Smith he's a sub 180-pound player. You look at a guy, but he still has those really long arms, really crazy wingspan for a 6'1" guy, similar to a Justin Jefferson, but Justin Jefferson's more solidly built. When I look at Rashod Bateman, I don't know that he has the reach. I don't think his arm length, and I can't tell because they didn't do the measurements. I don't think his reach, his arm length, and his wingspan is to Devontae Smith's and to a guy like, Justin Jefferson. And I think that's why you see him have really low contested catch rates. He had a lot of opportunities, but he just wasn't successful, particularly in 2020 with the contested catches. He's got the ability. Every now and then he gets somebody.
Over 20 yards this entire year. Everything's had to be kind of coming back to the quarterback and in front.
I'm not saying the ability's not there, but I'm saying they're on film. I do have questions about if there's a little bit of a physical limitation.
Play action over the middle, first down.
And his drop rate is still fairly high compared to those guys, Justin Jefferson and Devontae Smith. Those two guys in particular didn't drop a lot of passes.
Down, Brady. Over the middle and right.
You look at a guy like Rashod Bateman, he's got a 14.3% drop rate, guys. It's incredibly high. So now I got a guy that's maybe not the fastest, right? He's not the most athletic guy for what he is. He can have concentration drops on his film, and he's not always the best at contested catches.
Morgan over the middle, and it's intercepted.
But at the same time, I got a guy that is an A+ route runner, can really, really get in and out of his breaks very cleanly, and he can get yak.
On 2nd and 10, they fake it to him. Morgan throws a slant. Bateman cuts back. And finally gets space. And number 0.
And he's an early producer from college, which I told you guys a long time ago. When it comes to wide receivers, there is a belief in the scouting community that early production, that's why they measure the breakout age. Early production from high school to college, they generally speaking say favors players to translate then from college to the pros, okay? It's all theory-based, guys. Take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't always add up. It doesn't always work that way. But that is an underlying theory here.
Morgan to pass over the middle. As Bateman wide open.
Complex guy. I want to know your thoughts, though, guys. I'm going to kick it over to you. I'm going to end this video. I want to know, what do you think about this young man? For me, I think this is a guy that he's not quite to Justin Jefferson's level. He's not quite Devontae Smith either. But he's a little bit more solidly built than a Devontae Smith. But at the same time, doesn't have the arm reach. He doesn't have the reach, the arm length, and the wingspan of a, Justin Jefferson and a Devontae Smith. But he's a very nuanced and very good route runner, including beating zone quite often. I don't know, what do you guys think, guys? My opinion, you put this young man with a good enough wide receiver coach, with a good enough coaching staff that can develop players, I think his upside is tremendous. I don't think his best days of football have been played yet. And that's scary in the regards of how productive he's already been as a football player. I still feel like Rashod Bateman's best days are ahead of him. All right, guys, leave your comments down below. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget, if you want to help me out, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Link is in the description below. Also, don't forget to like and comment on the video, guys. That's what spikes the algorithm and gets it suggested into other people's recommendations and their feeds. And last but not least, if you are not a part of the community, I would love to add you. But in order to do that, I need you to hit that subscription button. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.